Ok, vamos a ver si estamos en vivo, jugar en solitario y continuar la partida donde quedamos. Porque sí, sí, wow, wow, GG, wow, wow, GG. Esto es espectacular. Gamers 452. Y yo soy Max System 316. Ese es mi ID. ¿Eres peleador? Ese es mi ID. Ese es mi ID. En PlayStation Network. Ese es mi ID. Y estamos aquí en Midi Minis, que nuestro queridísimo amigo del alma, nuestro temible, el terrible Demo in Me. Señores, Directo Anthology, la antología a punto de ser completada. Estamos aquí inspeccionando, quedamos directo en la foto. I love it. Amo cuando los juegos se quedan justo donde los dejaste. Is that the case right here? Is right in the place? Yes, it is. Así es, está donde lo dejé. Y vamos a jugar, pero mientras tanto, dame un segundito. Pam, pam. Ok, vamos a ver, ya estamos aquí a punto de ajustes, gráficos, calidad, rendimiento, calidad. Le doy aquí, le doy así, y le doy así. Ustedes lo prueban. 7, 25, pensé que debería.
¡Hijo de puta! Prefiero los perros.
Sí,
Sí,
solo era un
solo era
gato.
un gato. Siempre es un gato.
Ni
Ni
hablar.
hablar.
Venga.
Venga.
No
No
mires
mires
abajo.
abajo.
No
No
mires
mires
abajo.
abajo.
No
No
mires
mires
abajo.
abajo.
Manipular el
Manipular el
sello
sello
supone un
supone un
delito
delito
federal.
federal. Hágase real.
¡Au!
Au.
¡Oh! ¡Sí, joder! ¡Viva! ¡Jamie! ¡Eh!
¿Qué pasa aquí?
¿A qué cojones huele? Dios. Ahí estás. No te estaba esperando. Llegas pronto para variar. ¿Qué cojones es esto? Eres un monstruo egoísta. Siempre lo has sido. Te he hecho una pregunta. Despierta.
El niño solitario le encantaba leer historias de miedo, vaya. Leía historias de miedo todo el día, toda la noche. Oh, vaya. Vivía con su madre, pero ella era muy estricta. Deja de leer ese libro. Y no estaba harto de que le dijeran lo que tenía que hacer. No es justo. El libro le dio una idea, venganza. El chico se escabulló por la casa. Jeje. Saltó, gritó asustando a su madre. ¡Ram! Le encantaban las historias de miedo. Ja, 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 ja.
Siempre vas directo a tu página favorita. Pedazo de mierda previsible. ¿Cómo te conozco?
La linterna no sé por qué no está funcionando.
solo somos nosotros.
Mark, ¿me oyes? ¿Pero dónde estás?
Está bien. Está intentando encender el faro.
¿Qué te ha pasado?
¿Y Kate?
Tenemos que seguir.
¿Dónde está?
Mark, lo siento.
Dios mío. ¿Qué cojones? ¡Las manos donde las... ¡Ahora!
Los mató él.
¡No! ¡Se habla! He dicho que las manos donde las vea.
Qué bien que esté aquí. Tiene que ayudarnos.
Hasta que no sepa qué pasa. Todos quietos.
¡Mierda, detrás de usted!
¿En serio, señorita?
¡Dios! ¡Ahí! ¡Vamos!
¡El arma! ¡Cógela!
Venga. Por aquí. Puede funcionar.
No funciona. Más le vale funcionar. Venga.
Connie. Me alegra verte. Venga.
¡Deprisa! ¡Hijo de puta! ¡Pise!
Lo hicimos. Gracias a
No
Dios.
creo.
No todos lo logramos.
No. Vamos. Viene Mark. No, no, no.
Si esa canción no os hace sonreír, no sé lo que lo hará. Tras esta pausa tendremos el mejor rock clásico sin interrupciones.
Sin putos anuncios. Mierda. ¡Mierda! Y miré arriba. Y ahí estaban en medio de la puta carretera, agitando los brazos como un grupo de tarugos.
¿De dónde venía?
Fort Wayne. Conduciendo desde las 3 de la mañana.
¿Madrugón?
Intentaba llegar al puerto para las 8. Diría que ahora lo voy a conseguir, ¿eh?
Yo diría que no.
¿Un cigarro, colega?
Sí. Mira, ¿sabes qué? Quiero dejarlo.
no haber sabido que faltaba tampoco haber terminado ayer.
Estás aquí. Todas las cosas buenas deben acabar. Pero ¿qué tal ha sido el final del equipo? Por desgracia, has perdido a varios. Así que mis condolencias. Kate, es el último plan no importa. Se acabó. Y él, la chica nueva sorprendió a todos con su valor, pero ahora se ha ido a la gran sala de sonido del cielo. ¿Y qué hay de los supervivientes? ¿Los ha cambiado la experiencia? Jamie aprendió que debo confiar en ellos y trabajar con ellos. Ma tuvo que dejar de esperar a que le dijeran qué hacer y abrirse paso solo en el mundo. Y Charlie comprendió que el liderazgo es más que dar órdenes al equipo. Los trató como iguales y dejó que lideraran cuando llegó el momento. Me ocuparé del papeleo por la mañana. Puedes encontrar la salida sin ayuda, como siempre ha sido esclarecedor. Sin duda volveremos a vernos en el futuro. Adiós.
Los sucesos aún no están del todo claros en este momento. Lo que podemos confirmar es que pasadas las 7:30, un camionero que pasaba se detuvo para prestar ayuda. La policía llegó enseguida al lugar del suceso. Los supervivientes son del equipo de rodaje, el equipo de Londres Entertainment, responsables de la serie documental Arquitectos de la Muerte. Parece que finalmente se acercaron demasiado a su sujeto de estudio. Y algunos de ellos, tristemente, no han sobrevivido. Por suerte, esta horrible pesadilla ha terminado.
¡Hostia puta! ¿Recordáis que mi vídeo se hizo viral?
¿Cómo olvidarlo? Lo mencionas siempre que puedes.
¿Qué? ¿Sí? He ganado un concurso con las visitas. ¿Qué has ganado? Un viaje con gastos pagados para 5 a una isla.
Esto sí me interesa.
El señor Núñez dice que van a enviar una limusina. Nos lo vamos a pasar en grande.
I open the doors to heaven and hell. Yes, I have come to get your soul and leave your body and leave it cold. To drop the flesh from on your frame, the earth and worm both have their claim. I said, oh, death, oh, death, won't you spare me over to another eve? I said, oh, death, oh, death, won't you spare me over to another eve? Now death, if this is true, please give me time to reason with you. From time to time you heard and saw, so I'll close your eyes and I'll lock your jaw. I'll lock your jaw so you can't talk. I'll fix your feet so you can't walk. And I'll dim your eyes so you can see this very hour. Now come with me. I said, oh, death, oh, death, won't you spare me over to another eve? I said, oh, death, oh, death, won't you spare me over to another eve? Now death, please give me time to fix my heart and change my mind. Your heart is fixed, your mind is broad. I'll have your shackles to drag you down. Too late, to all farewell. My dawn is fixed, I'm summoned to hell. As long as God in heaven shall dwell, my poor soul shall burn in hell. I said, oh, death, oh, death, won't you spare me
Esta vez no me deja cortar el final.
I said, oh,
Estoy
death,
intentando avanzar, pero no me deja.
oh, death,
Así
won't
que
you
lo dejar pasar
spare
hasta que
me
termino.
over to another
Commander Stafford, the forward reconnaissance vessel Cassiopeia. After successfully rendezvousing with a Charybdis marker, we have detached the booster ring and spurred to high as we make our final approach to Tau Ceti F. The ship has suffered a hull impact, but damage is minimal, and our technicians are restoring full functionality.
This is Thomas Carter. Something's wrong with Sims. She's trying to kill me. I think...
Our next transmission will be broadcast from orbit around humanity's future home. Stafford out.
Ok, ya vimos todo lo que podíamos ver. Ya saben que nos faltaron pinturas, por desgracia, y secretos, pues muy pocos, por no decir casi ninguno. Solo nos faltó quién era Dumas. Aquí nos faltó 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Creo que 8. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8. 8 secretos nos faltaron y 3 imágenes. Eso es con respecto a las colecciones, ¿no? Funciones extras. Entrevista con Jesse Buckley, el primer asesino en serie de los Estados Unidos, la creación del Castillo de la Muerte, asesino de Morello parte 1, asesinato con Morello parte 2, dioramas.
My name is Kate Wilder. I've got a master's in criminal psychology. I'm an investigative journalist and hope to make a difference.
Hey, we're here with Jesse Buckley to talk about Supermassive's brand new game, Dark Pictures Anthology, The Devil in Me. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us a bit about the character that you play.
I play a character called Kate Wilder, who is the presenter who's part of this documentary team who are doing a show about the serial killer H.P.
Okay.
America's first serial killer confessed to 27 murders. The number grew significantly. Nearly 200 lives.
I'm a serial killer documentary watcher. Is that your jam too?
Yeah, I watch a serial killer documentary.
It's really relaxing. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating why we're all addicted to kind of those stories.
We need a plan. Forget his games, traps, all that bullshit. Think about the killers we've covered. There's always a weakness. I'm not playing detective, I just want to survive.
Playing detective is how we survive.
So what interested you when you were in the role of Kate?
Well, to be honest, I've never played a video game in my life, and I had no idea what the hell the world was. Okay. So that was firstly why I kind of was like, oh yeah, that sounds new and fun. And yeah, and then I read the script and talked to Alicia, who's our director, and it just seemed like a really lovely thing to be part of and something new and fun. And I can't believe how they create this world. You know, usually I just get a script and it's like 70 to 100 pages long, but there's like 300 pages in one script. It's unbelievable.
So, as you kind of mentioned, the game has multiple branching paths, so your character could end up in any number of situations. What's it like to film a scene, multiple times with different endings?
What I found is like you can only be in whatever strand you're in at that time and figure out the emotion of it at that moment, because then you can offer up something completely different when you've worked on a different strand, and it's a very like immediate experience, which I guess is also what a player will feel when they're doing it as well. So I just kind of try and keep my head in where we are right there at that moment. And if I was trying to think of what was happening in the other strand, it would be a disaster.
It must be really hard, yeah, because you kind of have this mapping, I suppose, in your brain of what, you know, what the outcomes could be, and then just trying to stay in that moment. It's very interesting stuff. So many things can happen to characters in the Dark Pictures anthologies. How do you make sure that Kate is always Kate, no matter what she's kind of faced with?
Well, I guess before we started, we did a big read-through with everybody, so it was good to kind of get a handle on who she is in the context of the environment she's in, but also the relationships that are in the world as well. It just kind of reveals itself in the script, and I just kind of let her run free and see what
That's so cool,
happens to her. Yeah, I don't think anybody has continuity in themselves. I don't anyway.
It must be very difficult. Yeah, really difficult. And that's it. I guess it's quite good fun to then go, okay, let's go with this and see where we end.
But I think also Kate lives on the knife edge of she has a genuine obsession and curiosity about serial killers. So there's part of her.
Ok, ya vimos aquí una entrevista con Kate. ¿Es un dato de verdad?
Torture chambers, secret passageways, vats of acid, and deadly vaults. In 1895, Chicago police unearthed horrific evidence of torture and multiple murders at the sprawling castle of H.H. Holmes. Masquerading under the guise of caring doctor, kind husband, and prominent businessman, H.H. Holmes was a contemporary monster, designing his buildings solely for the disposal of human bodies. Torture Doctor, Monster of 63rd Street. H.H. Holmes was America's first serial killer. Just south of Chicago, the suburb of Inglewood was thriving with commerce. The train station itself had 9 leading lines of railway and over 100 trains stopping there every day. No other suburb of Chicago had this luxury.
Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, pleasure to meet you.
Arriving in Chicago, Holmes finds work immediately at the E.S. Holton drugstore, located at the southeast corner of 63rd and Wallace in Englewood. Several months later, Everett Holton dies of supposed natural causes. Then Claire Holton, his wife, disappears after selling the drugstore to Holmes. Owning the drugstore, Holmes had a steady flow of cash. He would often purchase and resell goods and properties under his numerous aliases. In addition to scamming creditors, Holmes obtained his funds from other phony inventions, such as a mineral water elixir, which in reality was obtained from the city's water supply. 1888, Holmes secures a lease on the vacant property across the street from the drugstore, the southwest corner of 63rd and Wallace. It is here that Holmes will make his horrific dreams come true. He will construct a building for which the entire world will remember him.
Fantasies start very young, and so what he did then was he took a step further of his fantasies to make it reality. And probably, if we had done a little bit of investigation back then, we would have seen things like his plans, but not just plans for a building, because you'd expect to see architectural plans, but plans for his torture rooms.
For the suburb of Englewood, the building Holmes is erecting at 63rd and Wallace is a massive construction project. Day after day, passers-by stop to gaze at the spectacle of the many laborers working together to create a magnificent new edifice in their neighborhood. Englewood residents were so impressed with the massive building that they named it the Castle. From its outward appearance, it seemed rather normal. But like the duality of homes, the exterior and interior of the building were extremely different.
Holmes himself was the architect of the building. He was the only one who knew its design. There was this constant turnover of workers on the building. He would hire a mason to put in a wall and then fire the guy, or hire somebody to put in part of a staircase and then fire him. And there seemed to be several very sinister reasons behind that. One was he managed not to pay a lot of those people because he was always claiming that they were doing good, competent work. But the other, much more insidious reason was that no one except him really had a clear idea of what the structure of the interior of the house was. He had a huge bank vault installed in one of the rooms. And the way he did it was he put the vault in first while the building was under construction, and then built the room around it, and bought this thing on credit, and then refused to pay for it. The bank company said they were going to repossess the vault. Holmes said, well, come on in and do, but if you damage my building in any way, I'm going to sue you for everything you're worth.
The bottom floor of the castle housed a pharmacy, jewelry store, barber shop, restaurant, and a blacksmith shop. Behind this innocent facade was a Gothic house of horrors designed by the mind of a monster. The third floor seemed innocent enough, containing rented rooms, legitimate offices, and Holmes's own bedroom. But it was the second floor that contained 35 rooms, many specifically designed as killing chambers.
Muy interesante la historia de este serial killer.
Disorienting unsuspecting victims, the labyrinthian construction contained numerous staircases and doorways that led nowhere. For a quick method of hiding a victim's body, a concealed greased chute and trapdoor led directly into the basement of the castle. The basement held the most terrifying rooms, resembling a medieval torture dungeon. Acid vats, quicklime pits, and a crematorium disguised as a glass-bending furnace were Holmes's favorite methods of immediate body disposal. After cleaning and mounting their bones, Holmes would profit from his victims by selling their skeletons to local medical schools and universities. Holmes would make a killing in Chicago, financially and literally. May 1st, 1893, the world's Columbian Exposition is open to the public in Chicago. Spanning 600 acres, sprawled out along beautiful Lake Michigan, the magnificent fair is a monumental sight to behold. Over 20 million people from around the world would attend the dazzling World's Fair between May 1st and October 30th, 1893. Holmes utilizes the World's Fair as the perfect opportunity to capitalize on his demented design of the castle. Located only a few miles from the World's Fair, Holmes's castle was perfect lodging for tourists. Holmes decides to rent rooms to visitors of the fair. He entirely renovates the upper floors of the castle, bringing in the most modern furnishings and luxuries, all purchased on credit, which Holmes had no intention of repaying. In addition to placing newspaper ads for rooms to rent, Holmes visited the fair with several of Benjamin Pitezel's children, preying on elderly women who flaunted their wealth, making sure he invited them back to the castle for a warm night's stay in a soft bed.
They're not calling their relatives, telling them where they're at. They just know that they're going to Chicago to see the Columbian Exposition. Perfect victims, because they're unknown in the city. Their relatives, wherever they came from, know that they were coming to Chicago, and they never came back. How do you start to find them? They don't even know where they stayed. Perfect, easy victims. I'm sure some of them got in and out of this place with no problem. And others, they walked in and they never checked out.
Some of the rooms had been completely lined with asbestos to make them soundproof.
Hidden in Holmes's office was a master control panel which connected to gas lines leading into airtight sleeping chambers. Holmes would lead his victims into the rooms, lock them in, and turn on the gas, asphyxiating them while watching their demise.
Let me out! Holmes, let me out, please! Holmes! Holmes! Holmes, please!
At the height of the World's Fair, Holmes masterfully juggles his castle businesses, renting rooms, dodging creditors, selling skeletons, and attending to the needs of the many women in his life.
I have had many young ladies in my employ, most of whom are still living in and about Chicago, whose parents and friends know only too well that far from being their seducers, I have done much to materially help them in their narrow lives.
Being a personable, attractive young doctor and businessman, Holmes won the hearts of many women throughout his life. At one point, Holmes managed to secretly have 3 wives, each never knowing of the others. In 1890, Julia Connor became Holmes's employee and mistress, living at the castle with her daughter Pearl. When she became pregnant and demanded marriage, Holmes agreed on the condition that she allowed him to perform an abortion on her. She agreed. Neither Julia nor her daughter Pearl were ever seen again. Just a week later, Holmes sold a clean, articulated skeleton to the Hahnemann Medical College for nearly $200. In 1892, Holmes acquired another mistress, Emmeline Segran, and employed her as private secretary. Holmes sent Emmeline into the vault to retrieve some papers and sealed it, suffocating her to death. Several weeks later, the University of Chicago acquired a female skeleton from Dr. Holmes. In 1893, Minnie Williams became Holmes's new private secretary and eventually his mistress. Minnie was the beneficiary of a property in Fort Worth, Texas, valued at over $40,000. Holmes murdered Minnie and her younger sister Nanny after having Minnie sign over the Fort Worth property to him. In 1894, Georgiana Yoke became Holmes's third wife. He married her under the name Henry Mansfield Howard. Like his other legitimate wives, Georgiana lived out her entire life. On July 19, 1895, Chicago police enter the Holmes castle. The world would now learn of the horrors that the castle had kept secret for so very long. As disoriented detectives and police searched the upper floors of the castle, the true depths of Holmes's evil were waiting in the basement.
Más que interesante esta historia. Y como al final duró tan poco lo que íbamos a hacer.
Among the death devices in the basement of the castle, investigators find piles of mixed human and animal bones, bloody women's undergarments, and a wooden dissection table saturated with dried blood. Chicago police were inundated with names of people reported missing from the World's Fair. 50 missing people were eventually traced to the Castle of Horrors. The evidence, blood and bones found in the basement posed a problem for 19th century criminal investigative techniques.
It was very difficult to go and identify even the bones as being human in origin, because with the very small fragments you didn't have enough of the identifying characteristics to be able to make that ID.
The world is now calling Holmes the monster of 63rd Street, torture doctor, and the modern Bluebeard. Overnight, Holmes transforms from arch swindler to arch fiend. A Chicago journalist calls Holmes a multi-murderer.
The Holmes case generated this incredible amount of national attention and really international attention. Really, in his own time in America, Holmes was much more notorious and more widely known than Jack the Ripper, who was a contemporary of his. Then as now, people were very, very fascinated to sort of visit the sites of these terrible crimes, and his castle became a kind of tourist site. And there were various people who were going to want to take it over and turn it into a kind of murder museum. And then, just before some impresario was about to make it get into this tourist attraction, it just burnt down. Somebody burnt it down. I mean, it could have been some outraged citizen that didn't want this to become some very morbid tourist attraction. Holmes's trial was kind of the O.J. Simpson trial of the day. It just generated this huge amount of publicity. The case had become a kind of national obsession. Of course, there wasn't CNN or Court TV back then, so it couldn't be covered quite as relentlessly, but it was covered very, very extensively. There were true crime books and pamphlets and all kinds of stuff. And Holmes himself had become sort of folk figure almost, the sort of national boogeyman.
The courtroom fills for the final verdict to be read. Holmes becomes extremely nervous when not one of the jury members looks at him. In his entire criminal career, this is the moment Holmes never believed would occur. He is found guilty of murder in the first degree. Herman Webster Mudgett, alias H. Holmes, would be hanged on May 7, 1896.
Wow. En realidad todas estas cosas se parecen a las que pusieron en el juego.
While Holmes was in jail, awaiting the execution of the sentence, he was made an offer by William Randolph Hearst, supposedly for a significant amount of money, to provide his confessions. Holmes, who had already issued about a half a dozen completely self-contradictory versions of his crimes, clearly at this point felt he had nothing to lose. He was going to die anyway. In this confession, he did a complete about-face and portrayed himself as the worst monster who ever lived. He just basically confessed to every crime anybody had ever suspected him of, and threw in a few more for good measure.
He's reliving the fantasies after the fact now. He's reliving the fantasies of things that he did.
She was very willing to do this, and prepared to leave the vault upon completing the letter, only to learn that the doors would never again be opened until she had ceased to suffer the tortures of a slow and lingering death. The partial excavation in the walls of this room found by the police was caused by Latimer's endeavoring to escape by tearing away the solid brick and mortar with his unaided fingers. I closed the door and turned on both the oil and the steam to their full extent. In a short time, not even the bones of my victim remained. It was the footprint of Nanny Williams that was found upon the painted surface of the vault door, made during her violent struggles before death. Only one difficulty presented itself. It was necessary for me to kill him in such a manner that no struggle or movement of his body should occur. I overcame this difficulty by first binding him hand and foot, and having done this, I proceeded to burn him alive by saturating his clothing and his face with benzene and igniting it with a match. As soon as he had ceased to breathe, I cut his body into pieces, and by the combined use of gas and corn cobs, proceeded to burn it with as little feeling as though it had been some inanimate object. I immediately took them to the Vincent Street house, and compelled them to get within the large trunk, through the cover of which I had made a small opening, and ended their lives by connecting the gas with the trunk. Then came the opening of the trunk, and the viewing of their little blackened, distorted faces. Then the digging of their shallow graves in the basement of the house. The ruthless stripping off of their clothing, and the burial without a particle of covering, save the cold earth. I am convinced that since my imprisonment, I have changed woefully and gruesomely from what I was formerly in feature and figure. My features are assuming a pronounced satanical cast. My head and face are gradually assuming an elongated shape. I believe fully that I am growing to resemble the devil.
On the gallows, just before he died, he recanted. He claimed that the confession that he had published was a complete fabrication.
The extent of my wrongdoing in the taking of human life consists in contriving the killing of 2 women that have died at my hands as a result of criminal operations. That is all I have to say.
H.H. Holmes is hanged on Thursday, May 7th, 1896, just 9 days before his 35th birthday. At 10:25 a.m., he is pronounced dead.
He was very concerned that after his execution, his body would be dug up either by medical men seeking to dissect his brain and find out what made him tick, or just ghoulish sort of, souvenir hunters, and he requested that he be buried within a big slab of concrete, which he actually was. One of the things about Holmes is that nobody knows for sure how many people he actually killed. Although in my researches, which were pretty, I feel, thorough and extensive, it seemed very clear to me that he murdered at least 9 people. There have been stories that he killed 50 to 100 countless people, particularly in Chicago at the height of the World's Fair.
How many people did Holmes actually murder? Most likely, no one will ever know. Holmes and the many other people that came in contact with him are long gone, having taken the answers with them to their graves.
I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer no more than a poet can help the inspiration to sing. I was born with the evil one standing as my sponsor beside the bed where I was ushered into the world, and he has been with me since.
Bueno, ya lo vieron.
So, what do we know about this guy? He's rich, he's a recluse, he's obsessed with H.H. Holmes.
We're going to look at he inherited from the relatives. Some of the rooms are full recreations from the murder case. Dumet has blueprints, documents, artifacts.
Totally sane, sir.
There are various elements we knew wanted to explore when designing the hotel. From developing areas and set pieces that generated a constant sense of uneasiness and tension, to memorable trap rooms that forced the player into frantic life and death decisions.
Ahí está todo el asunto de las trampas y cómo se creó el hotel. Ahora, dioramas, ¿qué es esto? Mark, Charlie, Eddie, Jingle, Damon. Sí. Ok, aquí podemos desbloquear todas las escenas. Ok, Mark, Charlie, Erin, Jamie, Connie, Dumet, Holmes, recién casados, 21. Y ya no tengo óvalos. Interesante. Y bueno, ¿qué les puedo decir? Las funciones extra ya las vimos, que son estas. Los coleccionables ya los vimos. Vamos a dejarlo aquí. ¿Qué nos falta? Nos falta solamente una cosa. Menos Medan completado. Pero completado, excepto lo de Lucy. House of Ice es completado. The Devil in Me completado la primera parte. Y este que es, pues, VR. Ahora bien, ¿qué nos falta aquí? Si jugamos en solitario, continuar, pues no. De eso lo hicimos y terminamos, ¿no? Si vamos a una historia nueva y desafiante, versión del curador, la guardaríamos en un nuevo dato guardado. Pero eso lo vamos a hacer ya en la próxima. Versión de cine y versión del curador. Bueno, ya vimos todo, señores. Lo que vamos a hacer ahora es terminar aquí para después jugar la versión del curador y demás cositas. Pero desde Bowling Me, versión normal completada, señores. La del curador. Pues nos falta, y esto fue hashtag RealGamers452 y yo soy Max System 316. Ahí está en la esquina. Es el medio en PlayStation Network. The Dark Picture Anthology, The Devil in Me. Completado. Vamos a jugar la versión del curador para terminar el 100% del juego. Y pues, adiós, bye bye a la saga completa de Dark Pictures Anthology. Ya lo saben, señores, nos vemos en el siguiente video directo. O lo que sea.